Hello, good morning, my friends. How are you today? I am Daniela. I am a knitter based in Perth, Western Australia, and I'm very happy to be here chatting with you. I want to say thank you to my usual viewers who also leave nice comments, and little by little I'm getting to know better. And I also want to give a massive welcome to quite a few new viewers that I think were sort of pointed in my direction by lovely Jana at Finnish Knitting Stories, who mentioned me. Thanks so much, Jana. And I should probably introduce myself a little bit more for the newcomers. I am Italian originally, and I've lived in Australia since last October, so it's going to be a year soon. Incredible. And before living here in Australia, I was living in England, in Cheshire. I'm here with my husband, who is an engineer, and with my two children, who are 10 and 13. And this new life is amazing here in Australia. We are all loving it so much, and for me it's also been the beginning of this adventure of sharing my creations and my ideas with you all on the internet. In terms of my craft, I must say, as many I've learned to knit as a child in my grandmother's kitchen, where all the women in the family and some friends from the neighborhood would meet every afternoon, and lots of crafts were actually done there. So somebody was embroidering, somebody was knitting, somebody was crocheting. My grandmother was a very good seamstress, and I picked up a bit of all those things there in those days. And then I've done some crochet, some cross stitching in different times of my life. I've always been creative in one way or another. And then again, not an extraordinary different story. During COVID, maybe a little bit before that, I picked up my needles again. I taught myself to knit with circular needles because, of course, in my childhood we used straight needles. And then I've found so many lovely friends through my craft, through knitting, and now I can't do without it. I really can't. And recently I have also opened a little Etsy shop where I sell my handmade bags. A few samples are here. I think what you see here, color and bright prints and unexpected color combinations are what are my sort of brand characteristics in terms of everything I do. So I like colors, bright colors in my knits, and I like to use very colorful fabrics for my bags. So it's mainly pinks and orange and blue, teal, yellow, green, all the happy things. How can you find me? I am a knitter suitcase on Instagram, and that's the name of this channel and this podcast. And it's also the name of my shop, again, on Etsy, a knitter suitcase. I am on Threads as well, but I haven't really sort of started using it much. Anyway, so this podcast is normally run according to the traditional sort of schedule. So we'll speak about what I'm wearing, we'll speak about what I have completed and what's on my needles, and today we've got a bit of a bigger section about my dream needs that are an endless queue. I also like to record my knits in a journal, and I'll show some pages of that journal as we go about this podcast, okay? what I'm wearing. Ta-da! Here it is. As I speak, I'll add a little video here to allow you to see all the details of this jumper. So this is the Tankar Sweater by Anniina at DanyUK Knits. She is a quite new and very talented designer from Finland. And she's got a podcast that you can go and check if you don't know her. So that's DanyUK Knits. I'll add all the details of what I'm talking about in the description box below. She has recently, I think in spring maybe, released a tea called the Tankar tea that has been so popular, and for a reason, because it's really pleasant to make and fun and looks great. And now she has decided to make the sweater version of this tea. So that's the Tankar Sweater, which is not out yet. This is a test knit that I've done for Anniina. This sweater is knitted top down, starting from this ribbing band. Now, forget about this white top that I've got underneath. Unfortunately, it's freezing cold here in Perth this morning, so I had to wear something underneath, and I'm basically ready to go to work when I take this off. So you start with this ribbing at the top, and then with a very clever game of short rows here, the sort of body gets built, your neckline is built, and there is first a panel of garter on both front and back there. Look at how satisfying this shoulder seam is. And then you carry on knitting in the round, and it's all stockinette until you get to the ribbing at the bottom. Then you pick up for the sleeves around the armholes, and you carry on knitting your sleeves. So the very interesting construction is all played out here in the shoulder and neck area, and after that it's a very relaxing and enjoyable knit. So it's knit in DK weight yarn, and I have done the size 3, which should give a 98 centimeter chest. The amount of yarn recommended was 480 grams for me. But here I had to sort of adjust, or I wanted to adjust my knit to the weather and the climate I'm living on, because of course we are on the 1st of September, spring started here, and I really was so excited about this jumper that I wanted to wear it straight away. So I decided to knit it in Fibra Natura Papyrus, which is a cotton silk blend. So it's 78% cotton and 22% silk. It is a very soft, very soft yarn that has nothing of the sort of dryness that sometimes cotton can give. In this case, it's extremely soft, and it is a dream to wear, really. Well, if you've been here before, you know I like, to put my creativity in everything I do, even test knits. So I've done a few mods to this jumper. First of all, I've striped the body with, well, the reason is also I had got this blue color, which is number 22914, if you're interested, for another knit that then didn't go ahead. And I really wanted to use it because I could see it as a good choice for this jumper. So I just decided to stripe it so that I could buy just the white color 22901 and use them together to complete the piece. But the truth is, I also love the stripes. I think for spring particularly, stripes are they definitely are a staple in my wardrobe, and I love so much how they turned out. What I did was doing 25 rows of each color in the body, so 25 white, then blue, then white, and then I did the hem. And that was another mod of mine, because I decided to do a split hem, and I knitted the ribbing at different height, front and back. So it's 20 rows of ribbing on the front and 25 rows of ribbing at the back. So to get this sort of uneven hem look that I really, really like very much. Now this though is a yarn that stretches quite a bit. So what I have ended up is a wider jumper than I was expecting. I had swatched, though I'm not a great fan of swatching. I had swatched and washed and dried and everything, but I find that after blocking the whole piece, you know, the stretch that I had already considered in my measurements has increased, so it's bigger. But I love it. I think it's the perfect look for this kind of jumper. And yeah, so at the moment it's 64 centimeters wide from arm to arm, and then there are some decreases after the armholes, and there it's a bit narrower. It's 53 centimeters wide. The sleeves, I have decided to make them just plain, and because the pattern has got like a faux seam running down the top of the sleeve, which I think looks really cute if you knit the jumper, you know, all in the same color. But in my case, I preferred to omit that and just do a plain sleeve with some decreases at the bottom as prescribed by Anniina. So altogether I used 355 grams for my size, and it was 265 grams of blue and 90 grams of white. And I'm telling you all these things looking at the page in my journal that I have created. So I normally draw just a drawing of the jumper, and then I attach the yarn label. I do some decorations, and I write the cast on and bind off date here. So actually it took quite a long time, but it's just because I started on the 22nd of July, and then I abandoned it until the 8th of August. I was knitting on something else that at the minute I don't remember what it was. And then I resumed on the 8th of August and finished in about 3 weeks, because really, and my knitting time at the moment is very little. So it is a super, super quick knit. And it's really, really enjoyable. If you follow the hashtag Tankar Sweater, you'll see the other testers' versions, and they are all fabulous. Somebody has just done like this garter panel and the sleeves in a color and the body in another one. Somebody has just done the, you know, pattern version, picking the most beautiful colors. Honestly, I think I'll need one in wool as well, because I've already worn it quite a few days in a row, because I do love the fit and how it feels in my body. So definitely a woolen one is, you know, in my list. I have some leftovers. I have about 150 grams between the two colors left over. So I was thinking that I will knit probably a Tankar tee for my daughter, because I'm sure she'll enjoy it as well. My only worry about this jumper is that a few people have told me not only the yarn stretches, but it tends to pill as well quite a bit, which I wouldn't enjoy very much. Who does? Anyway, no worries. I'll wear it to my heart content, and then we'll see how the yarn behaves. And if I'm not satisfied, I'll knit another one. That's the beauty of this craft. We can really do, the same garment in as many times as we want, with different fibers, with different colors. It's great. Now, I haven't got a specific date, I'm afraid, for you with regard to the release, but it'll be in this month, I'm pretty sure. So I invite you to follow Anniina on her Instagram and to watch her podcast, and I'll let you know on my Instagram as well when this gorgeous sweater is, available for everybody. Okay. Then we have another finished object, which really was the quickest knit I've done in ages. Here it is. So this is a cropped summer tee for my daughter. She's 10 and she's into cropped items a lot at the minute, as you can imagine. If I manage to get her to wear it and take photographs, I'll add them to the side of the screen, but I wasn't able this morning and I only completed it yesterday. So the whole project around this pattern, the whole idea of this pattern started with these quite interesting variegated yarn that was sent to me as a gift by my mother-in-law from Italy. It's a Mondial brand. The brand is Mondial and the name of the yarn is Venezia. And it's quite interesting because it's a blend of various fibers. So 55% cotton, 20% viscose, 15% microfiber, and 10% linen. But apparently these yarns are not, how shall I say, not all plied together in the thread, but they are used like in different stretches. So you've got a little bit more of a sparkle in some segments of the yarn, and somewhere else it's like more matte. It's quite cute, quite interesting. And well, my plan was to knit a Tolsta tee for myself using this yarn and striping it with these other yarns that I got in a yarn swap. This is the Sublime yarns brand, and it's a Isla, I think you read it. It's a DK, and it's again a cotton bamboo, 50% cotton, 50% bamboo yarn. So I decided to do a Tolsta because that's been in my sort of list for a long time. So I swatched, I took my measurements, and I decided I was going to knit a size 3, that would be 101 centimeters, and I cast on the required stitches, and then I thought, okay, I'll knit and do the increases, and then I'll try it on and I'll see how I'm doing. And those days, goodness me, I was enjoying the knit because it's very relaxed, it's all stockinette, very easy, and trying the new yarn was sort of exciting, but I was really tired and I had a very full brain. So I kept knitting according to the measurements in the pattern, and then I split for sleeves. And then when I was about here, after splitting for sleeves, I thought, okay, maybe it's better if I try it on. I tried it on, and goodness me, it was ridiculously tight, not quite the right size for me. I should have carried on with the increases and done the armhole much longer and this and that. But it's my space of freedom. That's what knitting is for me. It's my space of freedom. It's the place where I have my creativity at work, and I just thought, you know what, I'll knit it for Julia. And she loves it. She loves these colors, and she can very much wear them. Actually, she probably looks better than me in these sort of darker colors, and she loved it. So what I've done, I've carried on knitting the body, and then I've done another mod to the Tolsta pattern, which is I suppose I'll mention it. It's by Clow, the Crea Bear. She's quite a sensation in the knitting community at the moment, but if you don't know her, go and check her podcast, The Crea Bear. It's really interesting. So in the Tolsta tee, she uses for the main pattern ribbing at the hem, at the sleeves and neck. And I didn't. I just did some rounds of garter. Just did 3 rounds of garter at the bottom and 2 rounds at the neck and sleeves. And yeah, I think it's a great finish for this jump. The only thing that I have done differently, and you may sort of see it here, is that while the neck was looking a little bit too wide for my 10 years old, what I did was pick up the stitches, because again, rather than starting with the ribbing, I had just started with a twisted cast on, because I knew I wanted to do things a little bit different to the pattern itself. So I picked up the stitches with a 4mm needles rather than 5mm, which is the one with which I've the size for the main body of the tee. And I've knitted another couple of rounds, you can see it here, with the smaller needles before starting the neck ribbing, so to sort of bring it in a little bit more for her. I could have probably picked up a couple fewer stitches, but honestly, I think it's okay. It's not, you can notice the difference in gauge here at the neck, but it was fun. It was my moment of relaxation, and my daughter will wear it very happily. So, you know, I'm not interested in perfection here. I really am not. If you are, we probably do not agree on a few things. So yes, I used altogether 125 grams for this top, and I knitted it in 5 days. Again, only like evenings, an hour in the evening, and probably half an hour or an hour, a couple of days while I was waiting for the children at the swimming pool. But that was everything. So super quick and yeah, fun. Anyway, I'll end up knitting another Tosta for me too, one time. I will. I'll show you the page on my journal, but in this case, it's not a particularly pretty page. I just did a bit of a drawing as usual. I added the labels, and then I just wrote some of my notes right here. But again, even with my journal, I'm not after perfection. I'm just after, you know, recording some infos and yeah, and making it fun and relaxing for myself. Let's crack on with the whips at the moment. And I have got a very, very interesting work in progress that I have been hiding from you, because that was what was required, being it a secret test knit. And ta-da! Here it is. So I suppose by now you've seen it everywhere online. This is the Sweet Shop Blanket by Laura Penrose. I have been a follower of Laura since she first started her podcast and her designing career, and I am I was very excited to be able to test this blanket for her. But once again, I changed things a little bit, as I always do. So this pattern, you can find it on Laura's website. I'll add it down here, or on Ravelry as usual. Is designed for a DK weight yarn, and the pattern gives you directions to knit it in different sizes, from the baby blanket to a lap blanket to a full-size blanket. And it's called the Sweet Shop Blanket because, well, the idea is that you go into your stash or in a pack of mini skeins that you may have bought for the project, and you just pick one. And once you've picked and used that one, you can't resist, you need another one, and you carry on with another color. That's just what you do at the Sweet Shop. You need to try and have a few of all the varieties, don't you? So, as I was saying, it's the pattern is for DK yarn, but I didn't have much DK in my stash at the time, and I was also planning to make it a baby knit, so I didn't really want it to be very thick. So I decided to go for a fingering weight. So the pattern basically requires no sewing, because what you do is just picking up the stitches as you go on to create the various squares and triangles. And basically it gives you the directions to create 4 different kinds of squares, which are actually diamonds, because you start at the tip here and you increase, and then when you get to the widest point, you introduce the main color and you carry on decreasing until you get to this tip. And the pattern gives you directions to create the first square, to create a right and left square, and to create a central square, because of course, according to the location of the square, you have to pick up stitches in a different way. And then you just basically carry on picking the instructions for the square you're going to do based on its location in your blanket. I used Drops Nord as the main color, the neutral color, let's say, because it's a yarn that I really enjoy for this kind of projects. It's very soft and very pleasant to work with. And the mini skeins I added are just various scraps from my stash. I've got like a big jar where I put all my scraps, and I love working with them. I love working with, scraps and putting them together and making them into something new and beautiful. Now, being that this is a fingering weight and is knitted on smaller needle than prescribed, so 3.25 millimeters rather than 4, I sort of carried on increasing a little bit more than the number indicated in the pattern, and I managed to get squares that are 21 centimeters in the diagonal and 15 centimeters per each side. If you look at my Ravelry pattern, I have because I did not mention it in the beginning, I am DanyUK on Ravelry, but I'll add a link below. You can find the directions to do the same as I did. I find this is a very good size, and I believe that's what the pattern invites you to make using DK though. And yes, It's so addictive, it's gorgeous, soft. There are a few ends to weave in at the end, but if you do it, you know, as you go, you will hardly realize about it. I tend to knit some into the fabric while I go, and then sometimes I get a bit lazy and I don't, and then I go back and do them, but I don't think I'll sort of leave all the ends for the end, and I do not recommend you doing that. It's quite tiresome. Well, again, I did start this quite some time ago, and then it was left in a corner because I had other things in my mind. But now that I've seen it on the internet again, and I have pulled it out of the project bag, I really enjoy it. Well, the test knit, by the way, required you to make just the 4 blocks, so I have hopefully not let Laura down. And yeah, I need to carry on with this one, and I really want to make it into a very nice, sweet baby blanket. There it is. Isn't it beautiful? Please follow the hashtag on Instagram and see Laura's episode and in her podcast, and you will find that the other testers have made great jobs with it. Some of them have made brighter colors, and there's all sorts of beautiful things out there in terms of sweet shop blankets. So that's one for you. And you know, as we start approaching the end of the year, Advents, this is a great project for Advents. So I'm pretty sure by the end of December we will see quite a few of these blankets around. But yeah, it's great. Laura is so talented and so nice, and she deserves all the success. So yeah, I was happy to be a little part in that. And then it is not cast on yet, but I want to include it in the works in progress section because, you know, I've swatched for it and I was about to cast on when I was sort of stopped on the track by a realization. And that is my EXP sweater by Susanna Kaartinen, who's Sanna&co. And that is part of this very exciting initiative that my friends Nicole and Gayan at the Purlfect Pairings podcast have started, together with Susanna and with Karina Moore of the Louis and Lola indie dye brand, called the Sanna Sweater Cal, which is a knit along where the participants are invited to knit a sweater from Susanna's repertoire. There are, I think, 4 available, and my choice has gone to the EXP. I've spoken of it more than once in the past. The yarns I have decided to use are Tandy, this beautiful green, which is a non-superwash, 100% Polworth wool, 4-ply fingering that I bought at Bendigo with my friends when I went visiting, and this is the colorway Mallard, and the contrasting color is this heathery sort of mustard color, which is 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 20% yak. That's where the sort of grayish tones come from, by Collar Girl Collective from Adelaide, Australia. It's her plateau base, and the colorway is Syrax. Now I have swatched for it. I have blocked the swatch, I've measured the swatch, and it was 18 stitches for 10 centimeters rather than 17 as prescribed. But I was sort of ready to crack on with that, trying to be careful about how, making sure that my gauge wouldn't grow too much. And then I was working on other things. And then last weekend, I went to pick up my gauge to cast on, and I measured it again. And the swatch was then 20 stitches per 10 centimeters. So it must be said that this jumper, which is in shaker stitch, needs blocking quite aggressively to open up the fabric and show the beautiful contrast between the main color and the contrast color. So I think what happened after leaving the swatch in a corner for a few days was that it sort of shrunk back a little bit to a bigger number of stitches per 10 centimeters, which was a bit of a disappointment because now I need to swatch again, and I'll swatch with a bigger set of needles. But yeah, I want this jumper. I want it so badly, and I've seen so many popping up, with the hashtag on the Instagram, and they're one more beautiful than the other. So there's no way that I can be stopped in this project. If you haven't joined the CAL yet, I recommend you have a good look at it, because there's a lot of joy in the jumpers that Susanna is sort of showing for this CAL. Karina has dyed the most beautiful color works. You can pick a fade for the contrast color rather than just the one color as I did. And there are amazing prizes. So there's yarn, gift vouchers from Karina. There are some knitting accessories, and there is also the one of the prizes is for you the opportunity to get one bag from my shop, one bag that you like. You choose the color, you choose the bag, and you will, get quite a bit of joy from all the different sort of partners involved in this CAL. So do not waste time. There is time because it runs until the end of November. So there is 2 full months and more than a half. But yeah, go and check my friend's episode, the Purlfect Pairings episode, where they talk about these knit along. And make sure you join. There is also a Facebook group if you're not an Instagram person, or you want to interact more directly with the other knitters and with the designer and the dyer. So there's a Facebook group that you can ask to be invited to. Plenty of joy on all sides, so do not miss it, okay? The last sort of bit of podcast, as I said, is going to be about my dream knits. There is a lot of dreaming going around here. And I find myself in a bit of a, let's say, sticky position, because of course now I start seeing the sunshine, though don't be fooled, it's like 7 degrees this morning, but I know that then all of a sudden the heat will arrive here. So I want some summer knits, and then I keep seeing all the beauties that are coming up, from designers who are in the Northern Hemisphere. And I also think, but I'll be going to Italy for Christmas, and to the UK as well. So I'll have plenty of opportunities to wear my woolens as well. So I need to knit something in warm, some winter knits as well. So, too much. Anyway, I've got plans. And for some of them, I have also started to sort of write down a few infos. I've made a page on my journal, which is the Summer Dream Knits page, where I have basically just put down and drafted the basic informations about these 3 patterns that I really, really want to knit. One of these, the first one that it's been in my mind for a while, is the Mini Mock Neck Tank by Jessie Made Design, which is a sort of cropped tank with, it's just stockinette. And in my size, it's knit in fingering weight yarn. In my size, 1 skein should be sufficient. Now, I do not wear very cropped things, not at all. I don't think I've got the age anymore. Well, it doesn't make me comfortable anyway. And but I have 1 skein in 1 color that I adore. It's been already wound up in a ball because I was going to use it for something else and then I didn't. Look at this. Look at this beautiful bright pink. This is hand dyed by a local lady, lovely lady called Michelle of the Dying to Knit yarn there. So this is what I'm gonna try and do my mini mock neck tank. I must say that I'm also wearing quite a lot of high-waisted pants recently. So even if this one it doesn't end up being very long in the body, I may still like it, you know, and also use under cardigans or with skirts. And I think I'll start again, I'll do what I've done previously. I will not start with the ribbing. I'll just start with a normal cast on and work down the body, and then I'll see how much yarn I need to make it a length that is, you know, all right for me. And if I haven't got enough, I may sort of do the neck and bottom ribbing in a contrasting yarn. Why not? So that's the first one. The second one, and I'll put a photo here, is the Ingrid top by Gregoria Fiber. This one is going to be made in cotton, definitely, or maybe a linen blend. I haven't got the yarn yet, but I'll go and shop for it soon. The pattern requires a sport weight yarn, but I'm sure I'll find plenty of you know, opportunities, plenty of yarns to use around here. Yeah, it's basically, it's got like these rows of eyelets, and I really like how the neck and the armhole sort of ribbing, no, it's not ribbing, it's like a band, how they are shaped. And I've been in the city with my daughter at the weekend to do some shopping for her, and I've realized that you know, eyelets, holy things are quite a thing this season, and she definitely wants a top with lots of eyelets. So I may make it for myself, and then if I manage to hack the pattern a little bit, make one in the sort of same or similar style for my daughter as well. After all, I've realized that her summer knits are so quick with her size and the cropped version, so it will take very little time. And then, as we are speaking about holes and about, you know, eyelets, I want to knit the Look at My Holes summer top by James and Watts, which, yeah, that's real eyelets, isn't it? It's more like a net than a sort of typical knitted fabric with eyelets, but I think it's sensational, and I really would like it to be in a bright blue. Even on my page I've colored it in blue, but I want like a cobalt sort of blue for it. And yeah, I understand this is going to be super quick to knit as well, because it's actually DK, but you knit with 5mm needles, so it grows like crazy quickly. Crazy quickly. If you've been here before, you know that I make plans, I even start things, and then I don't mind abandoning them or changing my mind. Here you don't find perfection, you don't find consistency often, but you find a lot of excitement and joy, and yeah, I hope I managed to transmit some of that to you too. In terms of the winter projects that are, of course, you know, a little bit more demanding in terms of the knitting time, because they have sleeves and these and that, I have 4 things in mind. So one of them I've already committed to knitting it, because it is a test knit for Susanna Kaartinen again, and it's the Tankar Sweater. I'll add a photo here, which is a beautiful colorwork jumper. If I have done it already, when I post this video, I will very soon order the yarn, because I really want to challenge myself by doing some color work that I've done before, but only, you know, in rare occasions, and I'm craving it, so I really want to do it. Moreover, test knitting for Susanna before has been such an amazing experience that I want to do that again. Another thing that I want to knit, and it's a gift, a very little gift, because it's for a baby, so I hopefully will do it really quickly, is Isla Solo. It's a pattern that I've knitted for my daughter before, when she was younger, and it's available in the same pattern. You get the top or jumper, the dress and the cardigan, and I think I will make a nice little dress or cardigan for a little friend's girl. She's only 3 months now, but by the time I'll see her, she'll be, you know, growing, and I want to knit the size 1-year-old anyway, because that's the smallest in the pattern. No decision on the yarn yet, but yeah, look forward to that, because the yoke, the lace in the yoke is very satisfying to knit. It's a genius construction, because basically all the increases you need to shape the yoke are already in the pattern, in the lace pattern at the neck, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That one should be quick as well. And then I've got another 2 things that I'm dying to try. Well, I've spoken at the beginning of the pattern of Jana of Finnish Knitting Stories. She is Cat2 Knits on Instagram, and she has got a yarn, she's an indie dyer basically, dyeing and selling her yarn from Finland again. I love her podcast. She knits up the most gorgeous, bright and neon colors, and she's so talented. She's finished now, well, it's a Chinese name from the Neon and Neutrals book, and I'll write it down here. It's sensational, and I've followed her forever, and recently I have decided to send her one of my bags, and so she's mentioned me and sent over some viewers that I'm very happy to welcome, as I said in the beginning. So check her out. She is currently knitting a fabulous pressed flowers shawl by Emmy Christophers, with her own hand spun. So it's the peak of craftiness. I do not spin. I'm not even trying to go close to spinning, because that could be a whole new rabbit hole. But that yarn she's using is fabulous. And well, I'm not quite venturing out into doing a show yet, but I really want now. She inspired me to do a cowl, also because I'm starting to think about Christmas gifts, and a cowl I think would be a very nice way to try out the technique, which is mosaic, see how I enjoy it, and make and craft something that will probably be appreciated as a gift. Moreover, another friend that I have reacquainted with very recently, Marina from the Strawberry Patch podcast and Indie Dye business, has now sort of tickled my interest into joining her cowl along that she's running on her Instagram and Ravelry, and you can get some information from the podcast as well. Marina is over in New Zealand, not far from me, in terms of Australian distances, of course. And yeah, she's another very, very joyful person. She's got 2 young ones, and she needs toys and things for them. And she loves the bright, beautiful colors I love too. So it's been a joy to be meeting her again. And yeah, so she's got this cowl along where you can knit any cowl. If you use her own hand dyed, you get bonus entries. And there are gifts, of course, at the end. So not once again, I never join these things for the gifts, but it's the social aspect, reconnecting or connecting with people and sharing and, exchanging messages. It's also so heartwarming, I must say. So that's another thing I'll be casting on. And then there is a pattern that I am literally obsessed with, and this is the Instant Crush by Jochi Locatelli. I'll add a photo, but it doesn't require any introduction, does it? It is an amazing color work, mohair jump. So beautiful. It must be a dream to wear, a dream of warmth and, gorgeousness. And I'm desperate to knit it too. I haven't got the yarn, but I haven't got the yarn for the whole jumper, but I have got a start for it, which is a present that my very nice friend Susan, you find her on Instagram as 1001 Stitches, I'll add that underneath, brought me back from Finland. She's originally Finnish. She went on holiday and brought me back this gorgeous skein of 100% lamb wool from Finland. I will not read the name of the brand to you because it's, it will not sound right. And it's it's a petrol color work. It's very sort of heathered, and it's just a color I adore. And together with these, she brought me also this Filcolana Tilia in this amazing color work 289, which is again like a petrol dark teal color. I don't think the camera shows it in all its amazing vibrant gorgeousness, and this one would be perfect to make a start on collecting my yarns for the Instant Crush jumper. It is a lot. I know it is a lot. I will probably need to stop sleeping at all to to knit all these things, but I want them. They're all so good, so fabulous, and I can't not think of them all the time. I will just close this podcast just mentioning my little shop. You know, it's on Etsy. It's called a knitter's suitcase. I make knitting bags at the moment in two sizes. So it's a sock size which can accommodate very easily 2 skeins, really, though I usually say it's for a 1 skein project, socks or a shawlette. At the moment I've got a few in the blue tones in my shop. I don't know why. I probably am inspired by this marvelous blue sky that spring is bringing us. So there are a lot of blue inspired and spring inspired bags. My bags are all one of a kind, so you hardly ever find 2 that are the same. If I make the same twice, it's got different contrast fabric in the drawstring casing and in the lining. I always like to add some special lining to my bags, because why not take the fun inside the bag as well? They're all padded, so they stand up by themselves, you know, there. You can roll down the hem and use it as a basket pretty much while you are knitting. So the people who have got them have found them extremely useful. And this is the bigger version, which is meant to be for 3 skeins, but I have been able to, you know, fit 4 skeins in them without any issue. They've got the drawstring, they've got these handle in contrasting colors, and again, they've got some fun prints in the lining. This one is one of my favorites out there at the minute, with these neony details and all the like confetti inside in lots of fun colors. So yes, I also make bigger bags with, like, they're more, you know, tote size bags, and I'll add a photo here of one of them. I've mainly made them by order at the minute, to be honest with you, because they are a lot of work, and I haven't managed to create a small collection to add to the website. If you're interested though, just get in touch. You can comment here, you can reach out to me through, you know, on Etsy, or you can email me at my address that I've got for this podcast, which is aknittersuitcase@gmail.com. Thank you. I think that's everything. That's enough craziness, and I hope enough inspiration for you. And I'm actually now, it's necessary I get ready to go to work, because I'll be working for a few hours today, but I feel so much better for having spent this time with you all. And again, thanks so much for your appreciation, for all your comments. Sometimes I take long to answer, please bear with me, but I read them all, and I find so much joy in all of them. They really fill up my cup. Knit on something fun. This is my wish and my message to you today. If that project is now being a little bit boring or tiresome, or you're not so sure about it anymore, leave it in a corner. And or rip it off. Oh, that's, by the way, that's what I have decided to do with my Stephen West socks. I've ripped them off. Look what my book says. Front, there's a little froggy there. I'm not going on because, you know, I have so many interesting plans of things to knit. I don't want to carry on something that is not really giving me 100% joy. So I suggest and I recommend you do the same. If something does not make you happy, just leave it alone and just embrace all the joy and the freedom that crafting can give us, and that will be for sure good for your soul and good for your, joy. Big hug. Thanks so much for watching, and please, if you like this bit of rambling by me, like and subscribe. Okay? Take care. Bye.